On naming this individual school Two Swords. The point of talking about two swords is that it is the duty of all warriors, commanders, and soldiers alike to wear two swords. In olden times, these were called tachi and katana, or the great sword and the sword. Nowadays, they are called katana and wakizashi, or the sword and the sidearm. There is no need for a detailed discussion of the business of warriors wearing these two swords. In Japan, the way of warriors is to wear them at their sides whether they know anything about them or not. It is in order to convey the advantages of these two that I call my school Two Swords in One. As for the spear, the halberd, and so on, they are considered extra accoutrements. They are among the tools of the warrior. For beginners in my school, the real thing is to practice the science wielding both swords, the long sword in one hand and the short sword in the other. When your life is on the line, you want to make use of all your tools. No warrior should be willing to die with his swords at his side without having made use of his tools. However, when you hold something with both hands, you cannot wield it freely both right and left. My purpose is to get you used to wielding the long sword with one hand. With large weapons such as the spear and the halberd, there is no choice. But the long and short swords are both weapons that can be held in one hand. The trouble with wielding the long sword with both hands is that it is no good on horseback, no good when running hurriedly, no good on marshy ground, muddy fields, stony plains, steep roads, or crowded places. When you have a bow or a spear in your left hand, or whatever other weapon you are wielding, in any case you use the long sword with one hand. Therefore, to wield the long sword with both hands is not the true way. When it is impossible to strike a killing blow using just one hand, then use two hands to do it. It should not require effort. Two Swords is a way to learn to wield the long sword in one hand, whose purpose is first to accustom people to wielding the long sword in one hand. The long sword seems heavy and unwieldy to everyone at first, but everything is like that when you first take it up. A bow is hard to draw, a halberd is hard to swing. In any case, when you become accustomed to each weapon, you become stronger at the bow, and you acquire the ability to wield the long sword. So when you attain the power of the way, it becomes easy to handle. To swing the long sword with great velocity is not the right way, as will be made clear in the second section, the water scroll. The long sword is to be wielded in spacious places, the short sword in confined spaces. This is the basic idea of the way to begin with. In my individual school, one can win with the long sword, and one can win with the short sword as well. For this reason, the precise size of the long sword is not fixed. The way of my school is the spirit of gaining victory by any means. It is better to wield two swords than one long sword when you are battling a mob all by yourself. It is also advantageous when taking prisoners. Matters such as this need not be written out in exhaustive detail. Myriad things are to be inferred from each point. When you have mastered the practice of the science of martial arts, there will be nothing you do not see. This should be given careful and thorough reflection.